Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another book review on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian McCollum, and today we are taking a look at The Bible of Lee Enfields. This is The Lee Enfield by Ian Skennerton, and Mr. Skennerton is an Australian author who has written pretty extensively on British Imperial firearms. He has books on the Snider, the Martini, and primarily the Lee Enfield. Now, this is the third iteration of this book. He had a version that was published in the 1980s called the Lee Service Rifle, or the Lee Enfield Story, sorry. And then there is a version from the 1990s that is, I don't remember the title, the British Service Lee is the title of that one. And then he has this one, which was published in 2007, the Lee Enfield. Now, I have this. I have not taken an extensive look through the previous two versions. I made the assumption that the most recent one is the most comprehensive one, and so that's the one that I have in my own library. Now, this is, as I said at first, this is the Bible of the Lee Enfield. There is an incredible amount of data in here. This is about 600 pages long. It focuses on the British Lee Enfield, but does also cover North American production. So Savage in the US, Long Branch in Canada, covers Australian production, it covers Indian production, it covers accessories, bayonets, grenade launchers, it covers 22 caliber trainers. It covers everything starting from the early trials to select a repeating rifle to replace the Martini, all the way through, when the Lee Enfield was finally made obsolete and replaced with the SLR. So everything you need to know about the Lee Enfield, if it's not in here, it's probably not written down anywhere. Cover price is about $80. It is pretty widely available still. It's still in print, so it's not hard to get. And that's the good of the book. Yeah, it is expensive, but it's a huge tome of a book. There's a ton of original, transcribed basically, or copied, original British military notes in here. So the actual changes to the British list of changes, the British formal declaration of what was standardized and what was not. A lot of those documents are reproduced in here. So it's not just telling you what changed, it's actually in the original bureaucratic government words exactly what they did and when. A lot of the illustrations in here are official British government documents. It is mostly black and white. There are a few color photos, but not many. Some people really like having very close-up, excellent quality black or color photography. You won't find that in here, but the black and white photography is pretty sufficient for everything that you actually need to get across information-wise, in my opinion anyway. Where I feel this book has a downside is in my opinion, the lack of a good editor. The amount of information in here is staggering. The difficulty in turning it into usable explanations is pretty significant. So in a lot of cases, if you just pick up a book and flip through it, a reference book like this, you'll get one impression of how valuable or how good the book is, but you don't really understand how well it's written until you actually have to sit down and use it. And in particular, I did a series of videos recently on a bunch of developmental, prototype, experimental Lee Enfield rifles. It came out of the collection of a cool guy named Bob Ferris, who unfortunately has passed away. A bunch of those rifles are specifically pictured in this book. That collection was one of the more significant British rifle collections in the United States. And when I went to do my background research on those rifles, it really was difficult to get a coherent story out of the information in here. So the info is all there. It's just strenuous to take it and answer questions with it. So I think that's the litmus test of a book like this, is to take a rifle, maybe a common one, maybe an obscure one, kind of can go either way, and say, what is this rifle? I want to understand the background of this rifle and use the book to do it. And some books are very easy to do that with. Leonardo Antares books on the Star and Astra, which I don't know if those are in frame over there, are great for that. You can easily find a specific gun and the information is clearly well laid out. This book is kind of on the other end of the spectrum. Taking an Enfield and trying to find out exactly what its history is with this book can be pretty tedious and difficult. The information's there, but it's not the easiest thing to sort it all out. In fact, to me, one of the most useful parts of this book is the appendix at the end, where he has a whole series of one-page overviews of each model of Enfield rifle. And that's particularly valuable because the British tended to update things every time they introduced something new. A lot of times when they introduced a new standard pattern of rifle, the old pattern wouldn't simply be put in storage or sold. It would actually be retrofitted and updated and made into, say, 22 caliber training rifles, or modified to fit the new pattern. So you have a lot of guns that aren't, a Mark I Enfield. They're a Mark I star, star, star and a half kind of thing, where they had a whole series of progressive updates made to them. And the appendix at the back of this book is the clearest and simplest way to make sense of all of those, and to take an existing rifle and say, what is this thing? Where did it come from? How many were made? Well, the front half of the book is difficult to navigate. The back half is excellent, and really a fantastic resource for Enfields, just right there. So, I don't want to sound too harsh on the book. I think if there is going to be a fourth version, it could really benefit from a pretty harsh editor to take the wealth of information that is there and condense it into a more legible story, more legible explanation. Get rid of issues where you start reading about one rifle and then the story stops and you have to jump 20 pages away to find where it picks up, outside of chapter headlines, that sort of thing. A good editor could really turn this into a fantastic book. But as it does have all the information, all the raw information you'll need or want if you're truly interested in researching the history of the Enfield bolt-action rifle in British service. So don't shy away from it, but I want people to have the right expectations when they go to open up the book and start to try and use it. So if you're interested, there are links to places where you can acquire this. I believe Amazon is probably the simplest place, in the description text below the video. And make sure to tune back in next week for another book review on ForgottenWeapons.com. Thanks for watching.